Happy New Month to you, my Nigerian compatriots. We are now in the month of March. It's official. Today is first day of March 2025. And we will wish that this month of March is far better than February and January. But just like it is usually said, if wishes were horses. Okay, so what does that mean? It means we have to do a lot more than just wish. And it's the reason why I'm here, so that we continue our conversation around the new Nigeria agenda, which I believe is something that all of us want deep inside of us, even if at the moment we are cowards, imprisoned in the share of fear, the share of criminality and corruption and all of that. Okay, but deep down in us, each and every one of us, we want a new Nigeria where every one of us can prosper. Even the people that are bringing down this country, they want to prosper. Okay, and if they want to prosper, it's only fair that the same room should be given for others too. Okay, so we have to do a lot more than just wish. And one simple way to get started is through conversations like this. A whole lot of issues came up in last February alone. Nigeria is one interesting theater where you are not yet done with one issue, another comes up, and in the end you lost track of the whole number of issues at play. That describes us, the country we are now. Okay? In February alone, or can we start with the recent one that is still raging? The Akpabio Natasha face-off or is it the purported removal of the state chief judge of Benue State by both the Benue State House of Assembly and the Benue State Executive? Or is it the poor Airtel network that won't allow us to have a smooth conversation? These issues are many. Okay? Yeah, in Lagos, the story is still on. A speaker was removed constitutionally. No legal issues yet. And then all of a sudden, he showed up with heavy security backing, claiming also to have the backing of the higher powers that be, and indeed the presidency. Is it the issue of these issues are many. There are many. Just like I say, you keep going on and on around until you lose track. I assure you there will be worthless Nigerians there that when you start to discuss them, like we're doing now, they will want to distract you. Okay? I notice in my own case that most times when I'm all alone doing nothing, nobody disturbs me with phone calls. But let me come up live like this and be discussing something serious that everyone should key into. You will see useless calls coming in. Okay? And I can confirm they are useless, because if I pick one or two now, whatever I will hear will not even make sense to me. Okay? So all these things are there. Even we, the citizens, we have our issues. Like I said previously, it's not limited to the government alone. What about us, the citizens? We have our own issues. Okay? Some are bitter with you just for the fact that you are positioned to make impact. You are positioned to deliver value. And that is a problem to them. Okay? And I'm talking of people close to you. They are not total strangers. These are all issues. Okay? These are all issues. So, in a way, I'm glad that most Nigerians came up on some of these issues. Okay. Before I forget, the latest one. The Supreme Court finally delivered judgment for Nyesom Wike. Let me put it like that. And then his people. Okay? And based on that judgment, lawmakers whose political careers are supposed to be over just got reinstated. Okay? And now, some of you can see why I kept hammering on this. Why I kept saying that if you do nothing, these people will visit you with more problems until you cannot breathe. Okay? When you have a situation where lawmakers are not doing what they're supposed to do, they go to the House of Assembly, they're only fighting for position, they're only fighting for money, they're fighting for all of that. Then why not initiate the process of a recall? Don't even bother going to court. Allow them to settle their matters in their own courts. Okay? Most of these courts are not for us, the people, anyway. And I can bet, you can also observe clearly, they are not exactly for us. They are for them out there that can play those kind of games among themselves. So why even bother whether there are cases in court? Do your own bit here. If it means recalling those useless legislators, go ahead and do it and save yourself further trauma. Okay? Otherwise, you will not see the end of it. You can only wish, but when you wake up, the nightmare is there waiting for you. Okay? So, we have all these issues coming up. Last month, the federal allocation was, I think, around 1 point something trillion. Okay? Then if you divide this amount of money by 200 million Nigerians, you can't imagine what is supposed to be the per capita head, or how do we put it? I think there should be a certain time for that. Okay? How much of that money goes to you as a worker, as an unemployed graduate, and all of that, or as a farmer? Those are things we should keep on the front burner of discussion. How much of that money goes to amenities around you and me? Okay? So, we are not necessarily saying that whatever money is divided, that is the money that should be given to us. But how much of it do we even benefit from? Okay? So just like I was saying before I revisited the issue of the Supreme Court judgment, Nigerians came up last month on most of these issues. If you log on to social media, you can see that there was traffic, there was buzz, social media buzz around these topics. The Akpabio, Natasha Feso, the Benue State Chief Judge removal saga. Okay. Yes, and that is good. That is good. But the question now we ask, issues like that, do they really impact directly on the average citizen like you and me? Okay, that is the conversation we should be having here. Does it translate to food being put on the table, my table, your table? Because at the end of the day, that is what is most important. I should eat, and you should eat before we even start a conversation. Okay? And if there's no food to eat, we should talk about the food to eat. I think that's where we should start from. Okay, so good as that development is, Nigerians coming up on issues like that, I think those should not be the front burner issues. We should look at the hardship that is going on. Okay, the allocation that was shared, like I said, try to divide that money by number of citizens. Okay? And then see how much of it really comes to you, whether you're a worker, you're unemployed, you are a farmer. How much of that money comes to you? How much of it comes back into your pocket in the form of salary, in the form of allowances, in the form of grants, in the form of loans? How much of it really comes back to you and me? Okay, we're talking of issues that has to do with putting food on our table now. I think those are the kind of issues that should occupy the front burner of our discussions. It should take center stage of our conversations. Okay? I will wrap this up by saying that even before we proceed with our conversations, our dialogue as a nation, okay? Even before we pursue the new Nigeria agenda through dialogue, let us form the bigger picture, okay? Don't wait for one issue or the other to come, and then because you don't really have an ideological or philosophical framework, you just jump into any issue that is just there and start reacting. No, you should come a long way. You should even have a philosophical base. You should have a belief and value system that influences your response to issues and what you also say about those issues. Okay? So we should form a bigger picture, like I said. A bigger picture like how Nigeria and Nigerians have fared since independence, since 1960. Since 1960. Okay? And from there we can have subsets of these bigger pictures. Okay? From the biggest picture, we can come down to the bigger picture, then to the big picture. Okay? So let's say the biggest picture here is 1960, when Nigeria got a political independence. How have Nigerians fared since independence, since 1960? Okay, let's assume that is the bigger picture now. It's just an example. And then, out of that biggest picture now, we can come to a bigger picture within, a subset, okay? Okay, let's say the bigger picture here, over all the issues we are currently discussing in Nigeria now. The bigger picture here should be how Nigeria and Nigerians have felt since the country's return to democracy in 1999. Okay? This year, May 29 precisely, it will be 25 years since Nigeria returned to democracy. So, the question or questions we should naturally ask: how has the lives of citizens gotten better with this development? Has democracy really delivered the goods? Yes, let me use a business language here. And then if I will use the language of everyday Nigerians, has democracy put food on the table of the majority of Nigerians? Okay? And lastly, is there hope that Nigerians can really make a change and a difference through democracy? Can free, fair, credible elections be guaranteed? Will there always be rule of law in place of sale of justice to the highest bidder by the law courts, or tyranny of one arm of government against the other? Okay, we're talking of the ingredients of democracy now. Are those things really there that make democracy meaningful and position it to impact positively on the lives of citizens, including you and me? This should be the most serious issues to us that we're discussing at the moment, not being distracted by every petty issue that comes up, every small issue that comes up. Okay? Most of the issues that occupy us and drain out our energies are petty issues, small issues. They're not the biggest picture, they're not the bigger picture, they're not even the big picture. Okay? So, if democracy will not serve us, then the question should be, should it be democracy or revolution? And that is the topic of this conversation. All of us must have heard about the word revolution. And so I give us a task and assignment. Go and study, do research. Even online, you can find these things. The Russians, they did revolution. The US, they had a revolution. If you like, a civil war too. They had all of that. The French, all these revolutions were there. Okay, but you can say those are old revolutions. Then in recent years, in Egypt, how Mubarak lost hold of power and fled. The Muslim Brotherhood came and gave way and all of that. It was a revolution. In Tunisia, it happened. Libya, okay, whether things happened the right way, whether those people properly formed conversations before going into those revolutionary acts, or whether the totality of revolution was not there. It was just, let's say, revolutionary uprising that maybe kicked out the government and didn't bring forth any serious and meaningful changes again. Okay? Or you can say, okay, even that one is a bit far from us. Then let's come to, I believe most of us have heard about the Sahel states. Most of us must have heard about the Sahel states, comprising Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger. Okay? This is just like yesterday. These were democracies. Okay? You know the interesting part? The people rose up and said, we don't want you guys. Though we elected you, we are not seeing the democracy and we are not seeing the dividends of the democracy. In fact, foreigners are taking over our affairs. They are running the whole show. We that are supposed to be in charge, we don't know what is happening. Okay? So, that's the interesting part. These people rose up against their own elected governments. And when they rose up, the military came to their help, toppled those governments, took over control of affairs. And the generality of people didn't complain. They didn't call for the military to vacate and allow the elected government officials to come back and take power. No. They celebrated, like we saw in Niger. Everyone was on the streets celebrating. And if that is not democracy, then I wonder what it is. That is still democracy. Okay? And it's in the way sending messages to people not in Nigeria or over Africa that are in government. That even, let's assume you didn't even rig your way in. Even if you were elected into office, and then you now turn around to witch hunt and oppress innocent citizens, it might soon be game up, because the proper thing is just if Nigerians get the right conversations going, then it won't be hard for them to know how to deal with even their elected governments. Okay? That's why sometimes I'm not too impressed even with my fellow citizens, my fellow oppressed people. Instead of removing these corrupt and tyrannical elements from power, they celebrate them. And most times for chicken change, for amount of money that won't change their lives, that won't take them to paradise, but send them finally to hell. That's what they do, trade away their eternal destiny forever. The truth is, if they were properly informed, it won't even be hard for them. If today Nigerians decide that they don't want their elected governments in place, and they demand that all of them leave that office, all of them resign or run away or however they do it, that is still democracy. That is still democracy. I must remind us, in case some of us don't know, our closest neighbor, one of our closest neighbors, Ghana. If their democracy is working today, they work for it. And just like what is happening in Nigeria and the other Sahel states today, the Ghanaians were once ruled by the most corrupt set of politicians. Okay, they were fed up with these guys. The military was also reading the feedback. Their ears were close to the ground. They were hearing everything the Ghanaians were saying. And so they knew that it was time to intervene. Okay? And when they intervened and got those people that were problem out of the way, Ghana stabilized. If you see Ghana doing better than Nigeria today, is that historical factor that is still at play. Okay? Even though you can see pockets of politicians in Ghana coming out to misbehave, but the people have already gone ahead of them. People are ahead of them intellectually, otherwise. Okay, and some of them are still, they have not forgotten what happened with that revolutionary act. Because it wasn't just a military coup, a lot changed in Ghana. So we can, in a way, say that was a revolution. Okay, maybe to an extent, maybe in totality. You can as well say that was a revolution. But it happened there in Ghana. And if democracy is doing well there today, it is because of that revolution. Okay? So we can have conversations around this here in Nigeria too. We can decide that let's go on revolution first and then bring in democracy that works. Because as long as it is the same present set of people you have in power that don't care what you and me feel, that only witch hunt and oppress. If I will open up my mouth and tell a lot of my stories, since the coming on board of the current regime, most of you will be shocked with bone marrow. Okay? Government agencies being used for purposes of political witch hunt against innocent citizens. So that even things, minor things that you're entitled to, they deny you, they disqualify you and all of that. Okay, if I will open my mouth, there are so many of them, but I'm taking my time. And maybe at the right time, I will dictate them and form a conversation around them with Nigerians. I believe it will make a very interesting conversation. Okay? So, this is actually the time we should have this conversation. Should it be democracy or revolution? Should it be revolution first and then democracy? Which comes first? Which comes first? I think that's a better way to put it. Okay? Maybe like in the case of Ghana, we can go back to that history and see and compare with our present circumstances. So maybe like in the case of Ghana, we need revolution first. Or in the case of Niger, which is a recent example, maybe we need revolution first. Send away even those elected government officials. If it's our wish, if it's our collective wish, then it is democratic. It is democratic. Okay? And we can express that wish. It's our fundamental human right to do that. Okay? And then it is the right of those who don't like it that will express our wish to turn themselves up for arrest and trial, because that is what is called treason. When you freely go against the rights of citizens as enshrined in the Constitution, as universally declared and accepted, you are a tyrant, you are a treasonable felon, you are any terminology that can be used to describe you. So, I think in the case of those in authority, all they need to do is reflect and have a change of mind about their wicked ways, their stupidity, their incurable lying habits. Because these are the things that are really killing our nation, killing hope as well. Okay? But for us, the citizens, the conversation will continue till eternity. For as long as possible, it will continue. No one will stop it. The conversation will go on. Is it revolution or democracy? Should it be revolution first, then democracy? Okay? If we analyze it critically, comparing with countries that pass through our situation, then we may agree that in our case too, it has to be revolution first before democracy can be properly rooted and thrive. Okay? Because for democracy itself to be a success and to deliver, to benefit the citizens, it has to be managed and operated by the right men and women of authority. Okay? And when I say right men and women of authority, those are people that should also recognize that the ultimate sovereignty resides with Nigerians. So you don't go around bossing everybody, even when you are doing the wrong thing. Even when you are carrying on with the wrong mentality entirely. Okay? And yes, we can decide in Nigeria. We Nigerians are very powerful, but sometimes we underestimate our power, which is resident inside of us. Okay? There are so many instances of this country we have shown a lot of power. Was it during those days of June 12 debacle? Okay, yes, I remember. That is one of the issues that recently came to feature back in last February. Okay? IBB launched a book, and then the discussions around June 12 surfaced and intensified again. Okay? Those of you that have been following me in my post, I have also brought in some expressions, some of them satirical. Okay? Some of them are satires. Some of them are sarcasms. Okay? So when some people come with ignorant and attack the post to attack me, I will just laugh at them because I'm expecting intelligent responses. Okay? So if you look at June 12, Nigerians did it with determination. They went to the polls and voted, ensured their votes counted. Only for one person and for an institution, the military in that case, because the military at that time, they were all gullible. Okay? Aside from the likes of Oka, who got betrayed in the line of action. Okay? Aside from the likes of those guys, the Vatas, the military sold out. And democracy was given a fatal blow. Fatal blow. That is survive is not a joke. I think even IBB that wrote and launched his book recently, doesn't fully come to terms with how much democracy suffered at his hands then. It was a fatal blow. Democracy was at the point of death, literally speaking. Okay? Then we had a courageous man in the person of Enko Abiola. How many of you are there like him? Even among Abiola's biological children, I'm yet to see. Okay? Among his wives, aside late Kudira, I'm yet to see who has that spirit that Enko had. He stood up and said, this is the mandate of Nigerians, and I'm reclaiming it not just for myself, for all Nigerians. If they say someone else should rule them, that is there. If they say they want democracy, who are you to question that? Okay? After all, the wish of the majority is what is basically democracy. It's the system of government they choose to be governed by, that they should be governed by. And this man insisted, ended up sacrificing his life as well. But he's not the only one in the picture. There were people that also caught up that spirit of Enko that went on the streets and protested. Some of them were actually wasted like chicken on the street. And today some Nigerians think they are better than those people. They'll say, no, I don't want to end up like that. But you are in a living hell already. At least those people, at that time, they were free people. And they didn't die in vain. Okay? In fact, when they died, they also escaped this hell you people are willingly living in today. Okay, so those are the people that even history will continue to remember for good. Nigerians have power. They have immense power to do a lot. Okay? You know, these were the things that led even the military at a point to have a routine and say, no, let's hand over to a democratically elected government. Let the Southwest in particular be placated. Okay, let them be appeased. And that was what brought up an Obasanjo presidency and all of that, even when there were better people like Ekweme in the saddle. Okay? So what am I saying? Nigerians have that power. You can bring it up to NSAS, the NSAS protest. A whole lot happened. We all know about the NSAS protest. I think we should keep such feats in the front burner of discussion too. Let Nigerians reconnect with their inner power. They have it. They have what it takes to influence their affairs, change their destiny as a nation for good. Nigerians have it. So bring back NSAS to the front burner of discussion. Let Nigerians remember and reconnect with their inner power. Okay? Okay? That NSAS unit in the police force was disbanded because of the anti-SARS. Okay? It was SARS-BA. So the NSAS were the protesters. So because of the NSAS protesters, SARS was disbanded. Okay? Though the police as an institution has not changed much since then, but an impact was made, and that is the emphasis here. That is the emphasis here. The obedient movement, we can forget them in a bit. Even till today, people that wake up feeling stupid must insult the obedient movement before. In fact, they may not even comment again. Once they insult the obedient movement, they will leave the comment section of social media and go back to lazing around in stupidity. Okay? But people that are honest and want to tell you the truth, the obedient movement came up as a force, as an unstoppable force. Okay? How their momentum finally died out is something we should bring back to the front burner of discussion, because I expected a lot myself after the election, or even, yes, immediately after the election, I expected that they would stand their ground, insist the right thing to be done, and not allow INEC and finally the judiciary to arm twist them and the entire Nigerian populace. Okay? So I expected a lot. That didn't happen. But we must give credit to the obedient movement. They came up and made some impact. Okay, and one of the reasons I brought forward this new Nigeria agenda, irrespective of political activity, let us keep the conversation about our nation going, and let's keep that passion alive in each and every one of us. So irrespective of your political, religious, tribal affiliations, discuss Nigeria and see how all of us want it to work. Let's agree on something. And if we agree on something, let's pursue it with unity of purpose too. Okay? So the obedient movement is unforgettable. And I believe they will come back alive pretty soon, not waiting to wake up during election when the political class must have gone how many steps ahead of them. Okay? Remember, like I said, in Ghana today, people have gone ahead of the political class. And that's what we need to do here in Nigeria too, as we continue these everyday conversations. We need to bring back that people power. People have the power. Okay? So lastly, and I think we end on this note. During the 2023 elections, Abia State in particular stood out as a shining light. What the Abians did can be likened to a revolution. Yes, it was supposed to be an election, and that's why I was asking And Nigerians also use democracy and channel their revolutionary energy into it. Channel your revolutionary energy into the elections, into the discussions, into all the processes of democracy. Yes, it's possible. Okay, we can have a conversation like that too. The Abians did it. They mobilized, they did all the campaign and everything. Okay, and they are obedient. Yes, they're obedient, which is what I expected the generality of obedience to do at the federal level too. Okay, but this is what happened in the state. They didn't go back to sleep after the election. They were all over the place. Someone recently said that the conscience of the resident electoral commissioner there played a huge role in ensuring the mandate of the people to their governor was not tempered. And that is true to an extent. Okay? But I was quick to correct an impression and to make it widely known that nothing more than the determination of the people gave them back their mandate. That's why I call it a revolution. But revolution comes against obstacles. It's not an easy path. The wicked group were not sleeping, and they succeeded in Enugu State. They couldn't succeed in Abia because the people were awake. They refused to sleep. They even took over collation centers, INEC offices. They were bent on having the person they elected inaugurated into office. That is revolutionary. That is the kind of attitude, not just obedience, but all Nigerians should have. If we are going to change our situation, change our destiny as a people. Okay? So I leave us with this. Let us think about it. Let us discuss it throughout this month of March, and if possible beyond. And I believe from there we'll get back our lost energies as well. We'll get the right revolutionary attitude that should drive even a democracy to success and to delivering the goods, to putting food on the table of every citizen. Thank you very much for your attention. I would love to hear from you. I would love to get your feedback in the comment section. I would love to see you post on your Facebook and other social media pages, timelines, walls, to drive this conversation, to form the bigger and biggest picture, so that our discussions always flow down from there. Thank you once again. Stay safe, think well, talk well, do well, and let Nigeria go well for all of us. And based on that, we assure you it will be well. Bye for now.